I'm going to make a casserole of chicken, and I'm going to use thigh or leg meat, better than breast. It chews nicer after it's cooked and heated up instead of that dried out breast meat. It's a little cheaper also. It makes a tastier stock, which you have to make from this. And we're going to make some, we'll make chicken veloute as the sauce to bring this all together. So you can look at my recipe for chicken veloute. Since this is so involved, I'm just going to make the sauce after I boil up the chicken. So that's the first thing we got to do. Boil the chicken and then make the chicken veloute. So you look at my recipe for chicken veloute first. Now this is not the quantities of the items I'm using, but I'm just showing you. I'm using sharp cheddar cheese, shiitake mushrooms, onions, and green beans. We'll make a nice casserole. I'm going to use a little tomato paste mixed in there later, some white wine. That's about it for now, so I'll measure and cut up everything, and we'll have to wait for the chicken to boil to make the chicken veloute, and then we can put this together. It's a little time consuming, but it's delicious. And when you make the chicken veloute, when you see my recipe, it doesn't use chicken legs, but you will use chicken legs or thighs. Anyway, the mushrooms, it's a casserole. I don't want slices, I want scallops. So we cut it on an angle like so, and another angle, just like that. It'll look nicer. The beans you want bite size also, so that's it on the beans. When you pick up the items in the casserole, everything will be bite size on your plate, including the chicken. Easy to serve and easy to eat. So the items in this casserole are not going to be raw. Everything's going to be cooked. The chicken is cooked. We have the sauce, the cheese. So it's only to heat up and melt the cheese that may be on top of the casserole besides the cheese that's on the inside. So since everything is cooked, we have to cook the green beans and the mushrooms. And the best way to do that is never to boil them. You just boil out all the flavor and nutritional value. So put it in the steamer. I'm using my rice steamer here to steam them al dente or softer if you want. Use a steamer basket, but please don't boil them. Now that you see the beans and the mushrooms are done. They're a little al dente, nice color. You could have sauteed these also, but it's a little simpler this way. So I'm not saying sauteing is wrong or this is wrong. It has nothing to do with wrong or right. What's wrong or right if the dish doesn't come out tasting good? That's wrong. If it comes out tasting good, then you did the right thing. So we'll just take this, put it off to the side for now, and wait. You know, as I make these recipes, I think about the finish and how it's going to look. So we're going to add panko breadcrumbs, already coated with the butter, and this will lay across the top. And we're going to put this later in a very hot oven, quickly to brown the breadcrumbs on top, and then just lower it down to like 200 to finish warming it up. Or, see, there are many different ways of doing it. Or I can brown these breadcrumbs right here. It's like toasting them. Toast them here. And then when you put them on top of the casserole, the breadcrumbs are already toasted nice and even. So we're going to do it that way this time. Because as I said, everything in the casserole is cooked. So what do you want to do? You would just want to warm it up and serve it. So on a moderate flame, like so, you have to stand here for a little while and just keep on mixing until you see a nice golden brown color. And that should take about 10 minutes or so. What smells better than this butter toasting these panko breadcrumbs? Oh, did I mention this is not a dieter's delight dish, but you know what? Sometimes you got to make something that's good, especially when you're cooking for a little group, your little buffet. And notice how quickly these are browning, so you got to be careful. And the second you get the color you want, you got to pour this onto a plate, because the skillet is still very hot and will continue to brown whatever's in there. Now I got the color I want, so I'm going to add the fresh chopped parsley to that. And the way you see it now is the way it's going to look atop of the casserole. Nice color. Couldn't ask for more. And tasty. So that's it. Get that out of there. And then put that aside. So the chicken is cooked now. And just a reminder, on the veloute, when you make it, make sure that it's seasoned with the salt, the hot sauce, or the pepper. You taste that. It has to have a nice flavor. If it has a nice flavor, you did a good job on seasoning it. So that has to be seasoned. And the chicken, you just take the chicken. You know it's cooked because when you go like this, twist the bone, and it just comes off easy. And you just break pieces off. If it's the thigh, which this is, you're going to have pieces like this, which is fine. So take all the meat off the bone. We don't want any skin. And then we'll continue. So into the veloute, I just put, as you see the remnants, the shredded cheddar cheese. Nice consistency. It should look like that. And it should taste like cheese, which it does. Now we're going to sweat up a little olive oil or butter, it's up to you. The onions and the shallots. I'm using red onions because that's what I had sitting around, but you can use white onions. You can use shallots. So we'll sweat this up and then we'll put a little white wine in there. So far everything is just about ready. The veloute with the cheese is done. This is working. Then we're going to take the beans and the mushrooms and all of the chicken. See, nice big pieces. No cutting, just tearing off the bone. No skin. And we're going to have to just bring this to a quick boil because the sauce is hot, the beans are cold, the chicken is room temperature, and you just can't put something together and save it for tomorrow to put it in the oven. Something could go sour, so everything has to be the same temperature. And this won't destroy or hurt the beans, the mushrooms, or the chicken. Okay, that's been sweating there for a few minutes. Then we'll put some white wine to help it along. Add the flavor. Herbs. I'm not using any in this. You know, many years ago, we didn't use as many herbs as they do today. They go herb crazy today with everything. I like the natural flavor of what we're using now, and I don't want to influence it with any herbs. That doesn't mean you have to follow me. Just do whatever you like. This will take a minute to just reduce a little bit. Then we're going to pour everything in there. And then we'll have to check for the salt. Because even though the sauce tastes good, the chicken really has no seasoning in it. And of course the vegetables don't because they were steamed. So we can put the chicken in here while there's still a little wine in there. Let it absorb a little of that. It's going to make quite a bit. Then I'll put a little salt and pepper mix. That's good. I'll put the vegetables. We'll give this a little mix. Now we'll put in the cheese sauce. The exact amounts are in the recipe, so there's no guessing here. And that is perfect. Just bring this to a simmer. Then we'll take it and put it in the casserole dish. Now just pick one out that'll take all of this. Unless you're going to use two small ones. Now here's a little secret. Since we already toasted the panko breadcrumbs and they're done, and this is done, you could also just serve it straight from here, put it in the casserole dish, put the breadcrumbs on top, put it in the oven for 10 seconds to warm the breadcrumbs and serve it. Or you take this now in about 3 minutes and you allow this to cool off. After this cools off, you refrigerate it. Put it in the casserole dish first, put the breadcrumbs, refrigerate it, don't cover it, and tomorrow take it out and just warm it up in a 300-degree oven. As soon as you see the first bubble, you know it's hot enough, then you serve it. So we're going to cut this off. I'm going to get a casserole, we're going to fill it up. So I warmed up the breadcrumbs. Now we don't even have to go in the oven. So we'll fill this casserole dish and we're done. Look at the texture of that. That's perfect. I think we have the right size casserole dish for all of this. Well, you can do this an hour or so before you're ready to serve it, and then just put it in the microwave just to warm it slightly. This will stay hot for quite some time. And now the warm panko toasted breadcrumbs. And it looks like that it was put in the oven and baked until the breadcrumbs are brown. So this saves you of putting the oven on, watching it, hoping that the topping comes out nice and even. And that's it. Then we have some topping left over, or you can just sprinkle it all and just use it all. Cover every inch. And there you go. Now we'll take a spoonful out, put it on a plate, and just see what it's going to look like when it's served. Always go in. Too many people, when they go in the casserole dish, they go out and they spills all over. And there you go. Not a casserole that is like hard like a rock. Saucy, nice, cheesy. Enjoy.